brought professionalism back, you know, and even Mayor Duggan stated this past May in 2021 that, you know, you did some incredible things relative to the transformation of the police department. And, you know, that can't be said enough. And I'm excited and thrilled. And, you know, it wasn't just the investment by all the major investors in the city that brought the city back to life and brought people coming back to the city and money getting spent. It was you as an amazing leader. And it was you who brought some peace and really tranquility among the citizens. And, you know, along that line, Chief, I'd like to ask you, you know, in your years of experience in all different, you know, levels of the law enforcement career that you served as a, you know, just a police officer and now as a chief, you know, you've seen riots, you've seen injustice and discrimination and really some public scrutiny, and not just Detroit, but in the other cities that you served. Yes. And how do all of these experiences and your wisdom that you gained from those experiences allow you to identify and be a part of the community and identify with the citizens, you know, that you were in charge of protecting, but then also at the same time police those criminals that, you know, you need to police?
You know, it's a very good point. You know, really, I've been very fortunate to have obtained the level of depth in this profession. You know, 44 years, but certainly doing a variety of work throughout those years. They all have prepared me for where I am right now. You know, even last summer when we saw what was going on across this country, there was looting, there was burning. But the one thing that jumped out for me as a practitioner for so many years was that this was planned. This coordinated effort was planned. And so you look at what was happening in one city. We saw a number of attempts here in our city. Same strategy. We saw it here. The thing different, we were able to stay ahead of it. We set a tone that you're not going to take over our police station. We know the cities where police officers were forced to retreat. Police officers were forced to retreat from areas that these mobs decided to take over, and said, we're not leaving. And then when the crimes were committed in these, what they call autonomous zones, they wouldn't even allow the police to enter in and conduct a proper investigation. That's insane for me. And so I wanted to set a tone that not here in Detroit, but more importantly, we have a relationship such that with our community and our activist community, they stood with us, they stood by us, and they rejected the fact that outsiders would come into our city and try to incite riotous behavior. Detroiters didn't want to stand for that.
Well, Chief, you know, with so much upheaval and violence across the nation, you know, we had the pandemic, Black Lives Matter, Detroit Can't Breathe, and all the other outside agitators, as you coined them. You know, I think Detroit may be one of the only larger cities that didn't experience the level of riots and property damage or burnings. What do you believe is the reason or reasons for this?
Well, I think I've already said it's our relationship with our community. And the fact that the tone I set, not here. We don't retreat here. And so, and then I think it's also important to note that the mayor, on those days that we did have to use force because our officers were being attacked, the mayor certainly supported my decision to react in a way that was proper. We did not, and the mayor did not, want to see Detroit look like what we saw in all these different cities. So relationships do matter, and trust matters, and you can't have a safe city or prevail like we did last year if it had not been for those relations. But also as important, leadership. Leadership on the ground, being able to make a decision in real time and not wavering, because this is bigger than this chief and this department. This is about making sure that we kept our city safe. And so as I leave, that was important. And I can look back and, hope that we continue on an upward trajectory. I think it's also important to note that, when you talk about succession planning, the fact that we've had a number of our executives go on to become chiefs in other cities. I mean, that's really a testament when an organization is great. I remember a time when the LAPD, in the midst of its luster and the number of folks that left and became chiefs in other cities, that's a testament of an effective organization because other cities want what you have.
Well, how did that come to be? How did you become so united with the citizens and gain their trust after years of not having been there?
Transparency. People talk transparency, but what does that really look like? Mm-hmm. I didn't shy away from the bad news, and I certainly embraced our wins. And, are bad things going to happen? Are mistakes going to be made? Absolutely. But it's how you address it.
Well, you even implemented, the Operations Clean Sweep when the narcotics unit was raided by your own police department.
I raided my own narcotics unit. I did it very openly, very transparent, and I didn't shy away. And not to throw my predecessors under the bus, but this narcotics issue had been going on for some time, and people knew about it. But the bigger question is, what did they do about it? And so when you are open and transparent about the good and the bad, that's how you build trust-based relationships. Right. This is not the police trying to cover up something. And you lose trust when you do that. I think about some of these other cities, and in Chicago, a city I love, I saw what happened in the Laquan McDonald shooting some years ago when Rahm Emanuel was running for mayor. Bad decision to suppress the release of that video. And then after he was elected, magically, the FOIA request was honored and the video was released. But what did that do in terms of community police relations? It opened a wound. It was already there, but opened it wide. So how do you trust an organization that purposely suppresses information that the community should know? And so that's the difference here in Detroit. And I didn't just start this here in Detroit. Whenever we're involved in a critical incident, I know especially if we have to take a life, the community, we're obligated to give them as much as we know immediately following that tragic event. The community has come to expect that here in Detroit, and we've had a number of those incidents.